Coming up, police brutality. It continues to be a disturbing, reoccurring theme facing our nation. And consequently, confidence in our police is waning, and the lines of communication have all but broken down. Today, we're talking creative ways to rebuild that confidence and open up new lines of communication with Toni Brinker Pickens and Operation Blue Shield. The conversation starts now. Real friends, loving, laughing, and learning together. Sharing stories, one life at a time. So grab a seat. Welcome to Joni Table Talk.
Well, we all want our neighborhood and community safe, but there is a huge problem. Mistrust runs deep between the people and the ones sworn to protect them. We see it all over the media, but is there hope? Can we find a solution to relieve this tension? Or today, we're going to find out. But first, join me around the table is my dear friend, April Simons. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I say yes, we can find hope.
Yes, we can,
Yes,
because you are a
indeed.
hope giver.
Yes,
I always
he
say
is.
that when you get up to speak. You're a hope giver, and so is your brother.
Yep.
How about you, Dorothy Newton? How are you?
Doing great. I love this show. It gives us an opportunity to be part of the solution. So this is going to be a great show.
I believe it. Cindy Murdoch, how are you?
I'm great, and ditto with what Dorothy said. I think anytime we can learn how to be a part of a solution, then this is exciting to get some knowledge and understanding how to do that.
And first time at the table today, Toni Brinker Pickens. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's so good to have you here today.
Thank you.
Well, Toni Brinker Pickens is more than just a well-known philanthropist. As the founder and CEO of Operation Blue Shield, she's dedicated to making America a better place. But where do we currently stand as a nation, and what's holding us back? Let's take a look.
One of the chants heard from protesters is being called disgusting by rank-and-file St. Paul police officers. Police Federation leaders say the threatening refrain is divisive and dangerous and won't lead to improved police relations.
So can these problems be fixed? First, let's get to know more about the woman who's at the forefront of taking on this challenge. Toni, I know that we showed both sides, which I think it's fair to show
Absolutely.
both sides, because there are rogue policemen.
Yes.
Yes.
But there are many, many, many more incredible, amazing
Yes.
policemen who have the right heart and motivation in what they're doing. And so while we're shedding light on the few, we have to understand that there's many, many more who are also being hurt as a result of some of the things that are going on.
I agree totally. So we are in America in a very, very precarious position. So we can go one way or the other. I think what we have to remember is that we're all in this together, which is our motto at Operation Blue Shield. We're all in together. When people join us, then we try to dove that down a bit so it becomes more I'm all in. So if I'm all in, you're all in, we become we. So for women, we can either sit back and do nothing, or we can stand up and be heard. And I'd prefer to be stand up and be heard.
Right.
Tell us what happened that day that this resonated into you, that something needed to be done. I think you were in New York, maybe?
I was. My husband and I were in New York. He had gone off to have a TV interview. And while we were there in the morning, I heard some noise outside. So I kind of moved towards the window and I listened and I thought, I need to open the window, and I stepped out actually on the balcony. What I saw were people walking down the street, and what I heard was, what do you want, dead cops? When do you want them? Right now. Now, in my world, I was horrified, but I understand there are issues on both sides. My husband and I left. We went back the following week, and it happened one more time.
Oh, my goodness.
So I immediately went home. I said, this is it. I'm not going to sit back anymore. I'm going to do something. I ended up calling our police chief and said to him, Chief Brown, this is what happened to me. You don't deserve this. Yes, I understand there are bad cops, but I also understand that there are bad people on both sides. I'm a widow, mistake by a doctor. So no matter what profession that you are in, there are bad people. But I have to do something to help you. I can no longer just sit back and be quiet. And he said, what are you going to do? I said, I don't have the faintest idea. I will call you back. Hung up.
I love it.
Called the mayor, said the same thing to the mayor, except I told him, you need to stand up. You need to make Texas show the rest of the world, this is what we do here, and we can do it in a Christian way.
I love that. I love how you took a step and you didn't even know what you were going to do. I didn't know that.
Correct. I
That's
had
awesome.
no idea.
Social media have created such an awareness. Were you always passionate about what you're doing today?
From the moment that this particular revelation came, yes. It is totally consuming. And if you go to our website and view the script, we wrote it. And it was as if the hand of God was there as I was writing. It was like, I'm not sure where this is coming from, but I can relate to this. I know the fears. That I know personally, the fears. So I just wanted to make sure that I was able to get on the website the message that we need to have so that people will stand up and say, we're all in this together. Let's move forward and make a change.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what kind of, if you will, that God idea that you got, because I know you feel like it was inspired
I do.
from the Lord. Those are the best ideas
Yes.
of all.
do.
You know, one of the things missing in all of this, because we've talked on both sides, is that there's such a huge lack of communication and coming together. One of the things I loved about what you're doing, and you can talk about all the different aspects, but the part of taking the good cops, because there's a lot of good cops out there, into places like the inner city and letting them get to know these kids and be around them and participate in certain events together so that the kids can see, hey, these are the good guys, and the cops can see, hey, these are kids that God has a plan for their life too. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, at Operation Blue Shield, what we do is we create, fund, and promote programs that allow officers to go into the communities where they can actually reach out and touch and help these young kids. So as an example, we can furnish basketballs to them. So after they get off of their shift, they can actually go to a school and they are there to play basketball with them. In Dallas, I was at a school and one of the teachers said to me, Mrs. Pickens, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate what you're doing because you're allowing these officers who really want to help these young kids. She said, they are here, they're making a difference. Understand that in my school happens to be the last door that the majority of my students pass through before prison.
Wow.
Now that impacted me immensely. So allowing and giving a police officer and also the school an opportunity to have a program where you can bring two sides together, that's a teaching moment, and that is something that we need to do more of.
So tell us, how do the policemen respond once they kind of are allowed into that community to interact with some of the kids and even play games with them, et cetera, et cetera? How does it affect them personally, you think?
Oh, immensely. I once gave a speech to the National Association of Police Officers, and I started off by saying, I am here representing every man, woman, and child in this country, and we want to say thank you for what you do.
Amen.
I also am here to say that I know that there are issues. And the officers in that particular group said thank you, because for us, we do our job and we go home and we turn on the TV and what we hear is how bad we are. But I'm a father, I've got X number of children, or I'm a mother, and this is not what we want America to be like, and we don't want people to be scared of us. You know, this is a complicated issue that we're talking about, but you have to have a way for two sides to come together, two people sitting down talking. So let's no longer talk about it, just at it rather. Let's talk about the real issue and try to resolve the issue.
And so, because you kind of interact with so many of the policemen as well, I don't think our audience has heard this as much. I think it's important to hear from some of the policemen that have seen other fellow police officers do things that they would never do. How does that impact them, and are they just mortified at some of the things that they've seen in the news, some of these stories, and they're like, you know, we're not like this. How do we get our voice out there to let people understand that we're not all like that?
Well, I think that Chief Brown said that. You cannot paint all of a discipline one way based on one rogue cop. On the other hand, you cannot paint an entire community the same way because of something that maybe someone does something stupid and kills a police officer. So again, it goes back to, as I mentioned with my late husband, probably would be here today if we didn't have a mistake that was made. So we have to not hold on to this. We have to have a two-way conversation. But you have to do it in a structured environment. And you can't do it one time. So a lot of people will go through and say, we're going to tie ribbons around a tree. But they do it one time. Okay? That is great for that one day. But what we have to do is change a thought pattern. We have to change lives, and you can't do it in 24 hours.
And there has to be consistency. I know we've talked about this in the church, where on Thanksgiving they go give turkeys. You know, once a year they go into the impoverished areas. That's great for one day. But the church has got to go in there throughout the year into that community to really make a difference. And the same thing has to happen here, right?
Correct.
I love
and
that.
a church is a good example. So we have a program which we call it church swaps, where you take the pastors, you switch pulpits. So you may go to an African-American church and switch with a just predominantly white church. Take that one step down and do that with Sunday school classes. So imagine if you're 10 and you're going to a different side of the city. Wow, this is great. So you get an opportunity as a child to talk to your Sunday school class. But now you're going to go talk to the adults. That's a powerful way to change a life.
That's good. I think anytime that we can come together from whatever, I mean, there are some communities where obviously you have a predominantly white population. There are other communities where you have a predominantly black. But in reality, I say this, you know, the church should be made up of everyone. And I think that that's really important for the body of Christ to understand that. But what you're doing is so important. We're going to talk more about it, but I want you to stay right there because we're back with more from Toni right after this. Well, we have the desire to rebuild trust in America. But how? Let's take a look at how Operation Blue Shield can help.
In recent months, some have lost faith and trust in those who protect us. Frustration has blurred our vision, but we've faced challenges before. Operation Blue Shield to facilitate the kinds of positive dialogue between communities and law enforcement that lead to unified solutions.
I'm all in.
I'm all in.
We're all in.
Join us.
Let's do it together.
Stand united with us at OperationBlueShield.com. This time, it's for all of us.
All right, so this is exciting, and I know that God is ordering your steps. So tell us about moving forward. I know that you have some events that are coming up and some things that you're doing to involve police and community. Are you excited about that?
I am super excited about it. So we have a race with Chick-fil-A coming up, which is going to be a lot of fun for the kids who show up. Because
we had the Chick-fil-A cows today in the studio walking around. My grandson was impressed by the way.
I can think of nothing better in changing a little boy's life or a little girl's life is to be able to walk and talk with a police officer, a first responder, and a cow.
Yes, definitely.
So we have that. In April, we've got a Power of One speaker series. So we take, maybe it might be a pastor coming from a different part of the country. He comes in and talks about real life issues. We do this in April and in October. I've got also later on in the year, we will have a race that will just be for moms.
Oh.
So in my opinion, we women, we've kind of can change life quickly for a lot of people.
Yes.
And I can see nothing better than all women coming together with their baby carriages and carrying their kids on, you know, on the backs and things like that, and just talking about what's going on.
Yeah.
So again, it comes down to the fact that you can't have just one event. You have to have consistent events that have some purpose.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you can indeed change the thinking of several people. That
Now, there's a ribbon. I'm going to hold it up, and I want you to explain to everybody the significance of this and why it's important.
Well, when in the process of creating Operation Blue Shield, we had to come up with a color. So we came up with two colors. The blue on that ribbon is the blue of first responders. The yellow happens to be, I picked yellow because when you're as old as I am, you remember Vietnam veterans, and they came home, we tied a ribbon around a tree.
Yes.
That has since now morphed into something much more significant. So I have some dear friends of mine in South Dallas, a gentleman by the name of Terry Lowe, who said, this represents more than that. He said the yellow represents the community, and the two blues on the side represent first responders who are trying to keep us safe. And he said, I really would like for you to tell people that, because that's how I feel, and that's the message I feel will have the most importance in the neighborhoods that you're really trying to dramatically change the way of thinking.
And of course, we've talked a lot about police officers, but this is really for all first responders.
It is.
And you've got this little pin, that's for like a ball cap.
I do.
Right.
This baseball cap, which I love, will go on the bill of your baseball cap, and it says, I'm all in. For young children, we have stickers. So they will actually go on books. I'm hoping. Books and backpacks and everything. So imagine having a policeman, and he has gone to Mrs. Brown's third grade class. So all the little kids can put on their little badges. They've got the little number on the bottom, so they think they're a police officer. And then you can't film the children, but they can actually go to the window so that when the police officer is there with the teacher, they can take this ribbon. If I were a tree, you would map this around, and then you would staple it. And so they can, at that time, yell, say, we're Mrs. Brown's third grade class, and we're all in. They upload that to us, and then we will use that on our social media. But it's a great opportunity for young children to get involved in these conversations early on. The hat clips are for the older children. And then for adults, you can wear the lapel ribbons. These are great for men. And then we also have, almost sound like a walking billboard, but we have, again, a lot of the officers and a lot of people will wear back the blue. This has the same significance, but for us, These are our colors. I wanted the yellow in there because it represented the community. And of course, if I'm walking in an airport someplace, this yellow will stand out. I can go up to that person and say, you understand Operation Blue Shield. Thank you for what you're doing for our country. And I know that they get it. These stickers, incidentally, can also go on your cars. They were made by a great friend of mine in Fort Worth, Texas. He was Speaker of the House, Gib Lewis. He said, I'll make you 1 million of them for free.
Oh, wow.
If you need 10 million, I will do that for you as well. I'm 100% behind what you're doing.
That's awesome. So you don't have to have the whole community behind you, one person. It
One
takes one
person.
person to put this around their tree. It doesn't have to be everybody. It takes somebody to make a
Just
difference.
someone. And that goes along with our Power of One series. One person can make a dramatic difference in a community.
Well, look what you've done. One person.
Thank you. Thank you. But as for your children, say they bring 10 of their friends and they walk and wear their school colors, they walk with a cow, they walk with a policeman. I mean, it's a great time to talk.
Right.
It is an important time in this country. I mean, on so many levels. We were talking about some of the different things that are going on, but this is something that can make a positive difference, can open up lines of communication. And you really think that if we all come together, we can make a difference. It's not just a one-day event.
I agree. Just backtracking a little bit, the governor of the state of Texas, the Speaker of the House, the full House, and the full Senate have endorsed our program. We are now what is called an interim charge, which means that the Speaker has allocated money to study our model because they feel that Operation Blue Shield would be beneficial in all Texas cities. And having the endorsement of the governor allows me now to go to the governor of Oklahoma, Arkansas, or wherever and say, we're doing this in the state of Texas, and it works. We'd like for you to start that in yours as well.
So do you have any personal stories you could share of police officers that have gone in and made a difference, and some of the feedback from that, as well as the kids that were around some of these police officers that were able to change their perspective?
I can tell you one powerful story, in my opinion. At our first Power of One speaker series, which was Dr. Warren and Pastor Carter, African-American and white, came together, they swapped pulpits. They in turn spoke at our Power of One. In the audience was a young man. So we talked about very serious issues. We brought up the issue of race. We brought up the fact that things are different no matter where you are. The young man called me about a week later and said, Mrs. Pickens, you don't know me. I did attend this. I was driving home, happened to have been in a certain part of Dallas. I was pulled over by the police. In your discussion that night, you talked about what you should and should not do when you are being pulled over by a policeman. One of the things was to keep your hands on the steering wheel. The other is not to react too quickly, not to immediately pull out your camera, etc. And he said, the whole time that I was waiting to pull my car over where I felt a little more comfortable, he said, I kept letting those words run through my mind. He said, when both police officers came up on either side of my car, I looked to the right and I looked right into the eyes of the officer. I knew then I was not going to be hurt. And he said, then I drove off to my house, parked in the parking lot, and cried. He said, now understand, I'm an African-American man. I'm 47 years old. He said, my life has been changed.
That's good.
Why
don't you respond to that?
That's so good. You know, that's so important. I mean, education is everything.
Yes.
You know, and we're called to create positive change. And just because you spoke during that meeting, it saved somebody's life, because perhaps he would have reacted, but instead he listened to what you said and nothing happened. Now that's one of many, many stories, but all it takes is one at a time.
May I leave you then with the fact that if you create a safe neighborhood, which requires you and me, law enforcement, first responders, to work together, you can take a neighborhood that is unstable, But when you have these meetings, you become friends. All of a sudden, you may meet 2 or 3 times, then I know that you and I are on the same page. We want the same thing.
Right.
We want a safe neighborhood. If we work with our law enforcement and first responders, we create an environment where a neighborhood that's unsafe becomes stabilized, becomes revitalized, then people will decide to have businesses. When they have businesses, they become voters, they become taxpayers, and that additional money, then the mayor and the police chiefs and people making all those decisions can now say, we're going to put that money back into these same neighborhoods for better streets, for better schools, and for the betterment of all.
awesome.
So connect the dots between safe neighborhoods, revitalized neighborhoods, and jobs.
That's so good. And even another important factor that I think we often leave out is that we can't do it from the outside. We have to go in those neighborhoods, and we have to sit at the table with people and commune together and really get to know each other. So that's really, really important.
That's good. Well, I can't believe it, but we are out of time. I want to thank Toni Brinker Pickens for joining us at the table. You can be a part of making your community better and safer. For more support or more information about Toni's Operation Blue Shield, visit their website at operationblueshield.com. operationblueshield.com, or you can contact Daystar for additional resources. And if you'd like prayer today, you can call the number that's on the screen. That's why we have a toll-free number. We have prayer partners that are standing by. And if you're having a difficult day, maybe you're saying, you know, I don't know if I really understand what you guys are talking about, but I would like to have further conversation, maybe have someone pray with me. That's why we're here. That's why we do what we do. You can join the conversation online by leaving us a comment on Facebook, or you can tweet me at Daystar Joni. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Toni.
My
And I hope
pleasure.
you'll
Thank
come
you.
back a little later as we're further into the program and maybe bring some of the personal stories. That would be great, wouldn't it?
I'd love to.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, ladies. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for today.
This has been a Daystar Television production.